broadcast YouTube and talking about the consequences of NASCAR's change on the chase and maybe the advent of a new race driver. Let's talk about that new race driver. As you've heard me say before, a couple years ago I was up in Indianapolis talking to A.J. Foyt, and I said, "What would you do today if you were 20 years old?" He said, "I don't think I'd be racing. I might be racing down at some dirt track in Texas, but I don't think I'd ever made it to the top." Because he said, you got to talk right, you got to look right, and you got to be a corporate entity to be able to do it. Well, I think that's been thrown out the window with NASCAR's new deal, where the emphasis is on winning, not making a good finish and you finish sixth and you're proud of it. No, I'm talking about winning. And I think that goes back to finding those drivers who are prolific winners on the short tracks around the country. We've got a lot of great short tracks. Skagit up in Washington, Lebanon Valley in New York, Thunder Road in Vermont, Seekonk in Massachusetts, Batesville, Arkansas, places like that that are really neat. That's where a lot of great race drivers are too. But could they make it to the Cup level? No, sir, they could not, because they don't talk right, they don't look right, they don't dress right. You know, I just described a young Dale Earnhardt. I just described a young Junior Johnson. I just described, now Cale Yarber's always looked good. Pressed blue jeans, you know, things like that. But what about these other guys? These other guys that couldn't get a ride because of the way they looked, talked, or acted. Now, is this going to change? Yes, sirree, it's going to change. It's going to change because now the emphasis is on how far can that driver push the throttle down, and how deep will he run into places like Chicago. How deep will he run in the corner at Bristol? How deep will he run in the corner at Martinsville? How intimidating the other drivers to him. He's not going to be intimidated. This new driver is going to be a reincarnation of Dale Earnhardt. I'm telling you, that's where we're headed. And it will be a great relief to see that, because we're going to get rid of some of the drivers we got that, quite frankly, shouldn't even be out there. I hesitate to discuss names, but most people know who they are. It's time for them to let go. It's time for the new blood to come in, and it's time for sponsors to let up a little bit. Just because a guy doesn't talk right, just because his teeth haven't been crowned or capped or whatever you do, or his hair's unruly and he doesn't dress right, put him in there. He's going to go in that race car and he's going to win. Guys like Bobby Isaac was, Buddy Baker, fearless, people that, Leroy Yarborough, people that would go down in a corner and just, without ever yelling, "Uncle." Might not look great, might not talk great, but great drivers, and that's what we need back. Not that Jimmy Johnson didn't, not that Jeff Gordon didn't, etc., etc., Kevin Harvick, etc. They're real racers. But we need an Earnhardt back, and this is where I believe it's going to come from. So watch out on the horizon. We may see a whole new NASCAR in a couple of years.